Friends, MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa here. Welcome to the MLive Morning Weather Update. My headline says a very warm spell of air heading this way for this time of the year. We're talking a lot of 60s, well into the 60s this week, and maybe even a few 70-degree days. But I'm also starting to see the end is near, and the way it's shaping up, it looks like we could be into winter soon. And I've said this because there is a big cold pool of air up in Canada, not just a small one. So we'll have to see what's going on there, but let's get on into it. And I thought where we should start right now is what is normal? What is average? Because remember, we're losing the power of the sunshine, and that average high temperature is going down about a degree every 2 to 3 days. So let's start with that so we know how abnormal it will be coming up this week. So these are our long-term average high temperatures. So if you take 30 Halloweens and you average them, the average is 54 in Ann Arbor and 53 in Grand Rapids and Saginaw and Flint also. Midland and Bay City are about 52 on average. Traverse City about 50. That is an average day. Okay. Now, first, let's cover the precipitation for trick or treating. We do have showers basically in the southeast half of the state and up around the tip of the mitt. So these showers around Flint, Ann Arbor, Lansing, Jackson will be moving northeast into the thumb through the morning hours. Grand Rapids, you're probably dry for the rest of the day. And, I would take a line probably from Grand Rapids to, Midland or Bay City and Alma. North and west of that line, you're dry. South and east of that line, you're going to have still showers as we go into the afternoon and evening hours. And this shows it. This is the high resolution rapid refresh radar forecast. So this is a model that forecasts what the shower activity will look like. And it does quite well. So as we go to, let's say, noon, the thumb, Saginaw area, especially east side of Saginaw, and then through Flint, Ann Arbor, Detroit, down to Jackson, Kalamazoo, a few showers. And as we go toward trick or treat time, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, minimal showers, but maybe kind of a renewed batch of showers in the far southern part of the state, Jackson, Kalamazoo, and southward. And as we go to 8 o'clock in the evening, maybe some showers along I-94. I would say anywhere from Saginaw to Kalamazoo, south and east, you could have a shower this evening, but the most likely is in the far southeast part of the state into Ann Arbor and Detroit. And as we go to midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning, the shower's starting to push off to the east and will be over by tomorrow morning. So now we pick up with the longer term and interesting weather scenario. I continue to think that this winter is going to be quite interesting, mostly because it appears as though there's going to be an active storm track, and that active storm track might be bringing storms over Michigan, storm systems. And so precipitation means interesting stuff here in Michigan. Can be a mess, can be snow, can be ice. Not just yet, but what I want to show you is this model is going to show us out 10 days. We're going to first focus on how big the cold blob of air is. Let me back it up to the beginning. Okay, so this is what we call the initialization, the first frame of it. This is valid for last night, and this kind of gives you a feel for where you need to be looking. You can kind of pick out Florida and Texas and Louisiana. You can work your eyes northward and pick out Michigan. And you see the red lines, that's the warm air, and the blue lines is the cold air. So we have our showers for tonight. Now we're into tomorrow afternoon, and we're dry. And what happens is a storm system forming out to the west in Montana, southern Canada, starts to get the southwest winds going ahead of it. So we're into Wednesday, and it's a nice, mild day with sunshine. and we're into Thursday afternoon here, and we are in the warm sector. We've got a southwesterly wind, the cold air, notice, building off to the west. We're into Friday now, Friday afternoon, and most of lower Michigan still in the warm sector. The cold front trying to ooze southward. We're at the time of the year when cold fronts do start to gain a little bit of power, but not so much this one just yet for a couple of more days. So we get into Saturday, and all of our data starts to show this storm forming down to the south. See the reds and the oranges and the blues in Oklahoma and Texas? That's a wave of low pressure forming along the front, and a very typical thing for it to happen. And what does it do? It starts to develop and move northward toward Iowa, and that sends the cold front back to the north, and it sends the warm air back into our area. This is Saturday night, and then this is Sunday morning, and eventually that cold front comes through on Sunday, a wind-driven cold front. The colder air tries to come in, not wholeheartedly, but look at where we sit next week versus now. Look at the cold pool. Look at how large the cold pool has grown. Now, this is the European model. It is a good model. It does have a tendency to build cold at 7, 8, 9, 10 days out, colder than it could be. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But if it shows up for another couple of days as that, then we got to start to think about the zone of cold shifting southward again a few hundred miles and getting closer to staying here in Michigan. So let's jump back to it now. So we're at next Monday, and a wave of low pressure comes along that temperature contrast and brings maybe a snow into northern Michigan by next Tuesday. And as we get out 10 days, another wave of low pressure developing, this time farther south. Remember, the wave of low pressure that brings the warm air our way this weekend develops in southern Canada, northern Montana. This one develops in South Dakota, sign that it's jumped about 200 miles to the south, and you can see the cold building. So it's still going to be an up and down temperature regime into mid-November, but the down is getting closer. Here are the high temperatures for today. About 60 to low 60s. And then tomorrow, 62 to 64. Then Wednesday, 65 to 70, we'll call it. And Thursday, 65 to 70. And Friday, 68 to 72. And Saturday, 68 to 72. That includes places like Traverse City and Mackinac Island and Petoskey and Charlevoix. And then Sunday, the cold front starting to come in, still mild, but changing temperatures. And then Monday, a little bit colder. And then Tuesday, quite a bit colder. Highs in the 40s in the southeast and highs only in the 30s in northern Michigan, and highs only in the upper 20s in the UP. So the cold air is there. And then Wednesday, November 9th, high temperatures about 40 with some 30s in the north. Larry Pusker, when can we start filling the ice rink in Freeland? It's going to be a while for that. You got probably at least a couple of weeks before constant cold temperatures. And usually it takes longer than that. All right, one last thing to look at with you is how much rainfall for today's trick-or-treating. And you can see where the rain falls from the east side of Saginaw through Tuscola County, through the Thumb, Flint, Lapeer, all of Oakland County, Ann Arbor, Jackson, Kalamazoo, but probably not Grand Rapids, not Muskegon, maybe not Midland, probably not Mount Pleasant or any area northward. So if you're in the southeast, get ready to be maybe damp at times trick-or-treating. If you're from Grand Rapids to Bay City, north and west, get ready to stay dry. And eventually, as we get into the afternoon, temperatures will be fairly mild with temperatures in the 60s. Hey, we're going to have our work cut out for us here in weather coming up in a couple of weeks as we start to turn stormy and the cold air gradually starts to ooze southward. So get your stuff ready. Use this week of mild temperatures to get everything ready, because once it changes, it does appear as though it could change pretty quickly. I don't know if that's going to be a permanent change into all of winter or if it's going to be what we've seen in the last decade, where we get a burst of real winter weather in November and then it lets up a little bit in December. But nonetheless, the cold pocket is there, and that's what it takes to turn into winter. And it will be here probably sooner rather than later. I'm MLive Chief Meteorologist Mark Torregrossa. Thanks for joining me, and have yourselves a safe Halloween. Take care.